So welcome to our SOC 3 days masterclass. So it's our second day. So without any further ado, let's get started. So as we are continuing this session for 3 days, on day 1 we discussed about the SOC, why we require the SOC, what are the operations, what are roles and responsibility inside an SOC, and how SOC is been implemented. In our day 2, we are going to talk about SIEM. Okay, why do we need SIEM? What is the architecture of an SIEM and what are the capabilities of an SIEM? So this will be the agenda for our day 2, where we will be talking a lot more about an SIEM. Now our first question starts with, what is a SIEM? So before we discuss about a SIEM, let's understand what it is and why it is being used. Now SIEM is just you can say it's a combination of an two technology. Okay, the full form of SIEM is Security Information and Event Management. It's a combination of two different technologies. Now, what are these two different technologies? First is your SIEM, Security Information Management. With the help of the SIEM, what we can do, we can collect the log and generate a report. Okay, then we have is your SEM, Security Event Manager. With this, we can analyze the event in a real time and correlate all those events. Okay, this SIEM technology will going to provide you a real-time analysis on security alerts, which has been generated onto your network hardware or into an application. Okay, so generally I call it as an heart of an SOC. Reason being, because mostly whenever we are talking about a SOC, okay, so in SOC we have different SIEM solution, but the common term will be SIEM, which is known as Security Information and Event Management. Okay, so it is made up of on two things: Security Information Manager and Security Event Manager. Okay, in Security Event Manager, what we can do, what does SEM does? So it does an analysis on a real time. It does an correlation. Okay, and overall SCM and SIM creates a SIEM. Okay, now not only this, aggregation is also been done. Okay, so collecting more and more information from all the sources and generating a report. At the end of the day, we have to create a report. On that report, we can do an investigation. The forensic investigation team will go into function after looking at this report. Okay, so that is your SIEM. Now what SIEM can do and why does we require a SIEM? Again, that will be a question into our head. Okay, so log management and this assessment has been done. Along with that, security analytics is also been done with the SIEM. Now security analytics involves your analysis of a log, events, data, performing an event correlation, performing a real-time monitoring. If alert has been generated, report, get a report out of it. If any incident has been happening, there will be an incident management team who is going to respond at that event. Okay, so what do we have in security analytics? We have reporting, event management, and log analysis. Reporting of your PCI DSS, HIPAA, GIBL, GDPR. Okay, and what we are going to do? We are going to manage all the event onto in real time. If any incident has been happened, again for that we have incident management team, and after that IR team is going to respond onto that incident. Okay, if any incident has been happening, alerting is also been done with the help of your event management. And post to that, how we are going to analyze with the help of a log. Okay, now the security analytics involves your log analysis, involves your event correlation, real-time monitoring, alerting, reporting, incident management and response. Okay, Now this is the basic thing of an SIEM. Along with that, why do we require SIEM? Why it is most important nowadays? If you want to deploy a SIEM, why we require this? So here are a few pointers which I have mentioned over here. Need of an SIEM. Okay. So what SIEM can do to increase visibility into our organization IT environment. Okay. Along with that, it can improve log analysis as well. Okay. If there is any threat relate against to your organization, we can detect and analyze and prioritize those threats with the help of an SIEM. Okay. Not only that, we can manage large volume of a log and different coming from and different sources. Someone is trying to connect us, or someone is trying to perform an DOS attack. With DOS attack, what has been sent? Multiple requests has been sent. So we can manage all those things. We can look for all those events. We can check all those activities with the help of an SIEM. Okay. Not only that, SIEM is also supporting your forensic investigation. Okay. It is also supporting your internal process. If you want to perform an audit, how the audit has been done? Audit will be done onto the basis of your audit report. Okay. Risk management report, risk assessment report, gap analysis report. If any investigation or any incident has been happened, for that, what we do, we create a report out of it and we store that report. Okay. And with the help of an SIEM, it is going to support your audit as well, audit requirement. Okay. It can manage, it is going to support your forensic investigation as well. With the help of an SIEM, we can detect, we can analyze all those activity. Okay. Which will be a threat. So prioritize the threat. High impact, low impact, medium impact, critical impact. Prioritize all those impact based on to this SIEM. Here is just a small architecture presented in front of your screen, okay, which is giving you a small overview about an SIEM. Okay, how SIEM is been architect, how SIEM has been working. Okay, so it always starts with collection. Collecting what? Collecting the log data from our network devices, or sorting all those hardware applications. So we will be collecting and analyzing and investigating all those log. Okay. So first collect the log. Then what we have a normalization. Once we have collected the log, after that, what we are going to do? We are going to move into the redundancy, bringing all the common factor. Okay. Bringing all the common event format as well. This will be done by the normalization. Okay. So there are multiple, or you can say thousands of devices or thousands of data has been collected. Let's take an example. In my organization, there are more than 500 plus employee. That means 500 plus devices. 500 to support those 500 devices required a good network architecture as well. Okay, at different places we will be installing some of the hardware based devices, network based devices. Okay, there are firewall, there are database, so multiple things have been happening. Okay, now everywhere we will be setting up an endpoint as well. See, we want to collect all the information from all this source. So collecting the information, and in normalization what we are doing, we are sorting all those information. Okay, once it has been normalized, further to that, it will be moved into the correlation and the database. Now correlation is what? A common pattern will be checked over here. Common pattern between the data source will be find out, or the links between to them. Okay, what type of data this is, or what type of an event this is, or what type of an log this is. This log belongs to your web application. This log belongs to your can say firewall. Okay, that has been sorted over here. Okay, once it has been started, it need to be stored as well. I want to store all those logs. So where it has been stored? In the database. Okay, so we have a database where all the logs are been retained. Okay, so not only this database, we have storage as well, because we cannot store that logs for a long period of time. Okay, so you will be facing a problem after 30 days, after 45 days, the database has been full. Okay, so what we are doing, we are moving this logs to the storage for a longer period of time. So we have storage servers, okay, where you will be saving all your event logs, or your logs will be stored for a longer period of time. Okay, then we have is your notification. Notification means what? It's an alarm. Okay, so whenever any predefined rule is not been met, or any you can say unwanted activities has been happened, okay, so that will be notified. Okay, so log will be collected, it will be normalized, it will be checked this log belongs to which application, and if it is an you can say uh, malicious activity, notify that activity, generate an alert out of it. Okay, and store along with that, store that event as well. We have one more thing, reporting over here. Okay, now in this part what we are going to do, we will be checking different types of a report will be present. For example, your you can say the activity which has been generated, or the log which has been generated, it's a critical event. For that critical event, say create a separate report. If it is an not that much malicious or not that much critical, okay, medium, so create a report out of it. Okay, and giving an overview, you can say, about that event, about that incident. Okay, a detailed report, or you can say the current posture, so we can share those current posture to our higher management. So let's suppose I am doing an investigation. End of the day, what we are going to create, we are going to create a report out of it, and that report will be shared to our higher executives. So basically what they can do, they can make a decision out of it. Okay, so this is your a small scheme SIEM architecture, a basic overview of a SIEM, how SIEM has been working, what all things we do have inside a SIEM. If we want to implement a SIEM, what need to be focused, or what need to be checked. Okay, so what do we have? We have a collection, normalization, correlation, database. Collection, we are collecting all the logs depending on to your organization, what all logs you want to collect. Okay, so a predefined rules will be created. We want to collect a log from our network host devices, we want to collect a log from all the physical devices as well, we want to collect a log of your firewalls as well. So create a rule and start collecting those logs. Once the log has been collected, it will be moved to a normalization, because there are n numbers of logs are been collecting. Okay, so in normalization what we have done, we have created one more rule, let that log come inside this. Whatever that log is often firewall, that log is often network devices. Let's collect those log. Once it has been collected, filtration has been done over here. What type of a log it is? It's a firewall log. Okay, save it in different source. If it is an network based log, save it in different sources. Down the line, it will be very much easy for us to do an analysis, isn't it? If we are collecting a log from all the sources, it will be a bit challenging for each and everyone to analyze those logs. First, we need to identify what type of a log this is. Okay, it will be an time consuming. After that, we will be doing an interrogation and then a investigation. So to prevent from that I can say long activity. SIEM itself do a correlation. It's identify what type of a log that is and do that this bifurcation of that log. Okay, and not only that, it stores all the log. Now again over here we are creating a rule. Okay, store the log for next 30 days or next 60 days. After that it will be moved inside your storage. Okay, so what we are doing, we are creating a rule over here. Store it for 60 days, store it for 30 days. After 30 days it will be automatically moved to our storage, to our physical storage devices. Okay, not only that, if that event is a malicious one, get a notification out of it. Okay, once it has been notified, a ticket will be generated, and on that ticket, as an L1 team, we are going to start performing an activity on it. Once the activity has been completed, a report will be created out of that. Okay, so this is how your SIEM is been performing. Okay, now apart from this, what are the different you can say uh, components inside an SIEM? A basic component. Okay, for example, as I have discussed about an architecture. Okay, let me give you one more example about an architecture. Okay, let's suppose my organization strength is 100 employees. Okay, so we have different security devices. Security devices like firewall. Along with that, we have antivirus. Along with that, we have IPS. Along with that, we have HIPS as well. Okay, so these are my security devices. Now we have some of the network devices as well. Okay, like your routers, switches. Okay, we have VPN as well. These are my network devices. There are some servers as well. Okay, servers of collecting your OS logs. Okay, there are web servers as well. Let's say there is an application server as well. Okay, and some of the application too. Okay. Now, while defining a SIM, so first what we do, let's say I want to have a SIM environment inside my organization. Okay, so first a rule will be created. Before to the rule, what we are going to do, we are going to create a scope. If you remember, yesterday we were been discussing about an SOC, how a SOC has been implemented. Okay, so there will be a scope, a budgeting will be done. After that, approval is been required. Once the approval has been given, and then we start implementing the SOC. Okay, now inside your scope, we are going to define about an SIEM architecture as well. Okay, what the SIEM environment will going to contain. Okay, what are logs they are going to receive, so we can do an analysis out of it. Okay, so there are multiple devices in my environment. There are physical devices, security devices, there are network devices, there are servers, there are applications. Now all these devices is having a data. Okay, that will be my first approach. Data, collect the data in the form of a log. What all logs you want? I want firewall log, I want antivirus log, IPS log, HIPS log, which will be of an security devices. I want log of an router, switches, VPN, which will be of an network devices. I want a log of your operating system, web server, app servers, which will be considering as a server. Okay, then we have some of the application as well. Collect the log of those application too. Okay, so there will be a device which is going to send a data to an SIEM. What type of an data? In the form of an log. Okay, after that, what do we have? At second step, we have collectors, also called as agents. Okay, also known as connectors. Now what this collectors or agents is going to do, they are going to collect and normalize the information which has been obtained from different devices. Okay, and before forwarding it to an central engine, it is going to include your flow culture as well. Okay, for example, your this antivirus firewall logs that will be collected. So we are deploying a agent in between. Okay, that agent is going to collect this log. Okay, after that, what we have at third point, we have central engines. Okay, now what this central engine is going to do, central engine is going to do an correlation. Okay, so first collect the data, then do a normalization. Normalization has been done by the agents. Okay, check for the flow collectors, look for the various devices and collect all those information and forward it to an correlation. Now correlation is going to perform a data correlation, a data analysis. What type of an data it is, algorithm it is, report it is, okay, or any further activities, okay, or any other console the activities. Okay, so all these things will be checked under to your correlation, or we also call it as a central engine. Okay, and where this information has been stored, this information has been stored in our database. Logs are been stored inside your database for a longer period of time, depending upon to your retention policy. What type of a retention policy has been created by the organization? Retention policy of 30 days, 40 days, or for let's say of 1 year or 2 year. What policies they had been implemented, depending on to them. Now along with that, what SIEM is been capable of, what he can do, he can do multiple things. He can do an aggregation of an data. Alert has been generated, correlation, retention, scalability. This can be done by your SIEM. Now what are these things? Okay, now when we are saying SIEM has a capabilities to do lot of things, now what are these things? So let's quickly discuss about it. Okay, now in aggregation data means collecting data from multiple sources, including your network services, servers, database, application. So we will be considering a view of a data. Okay, so further we can easily simplify and monitor all those activity. Okay, so the agent will be deployed, and what that agent is going to do, they are going to perform a two method, pull method and push method. In terms of an agent, there will be small agent installed inside the device, and they will start fetching all this log, and all this log will be forwarded to an SIEM with the help of an push method and with the help of an pull method. Okay, now both this push and pull method will be done from your API connectivity. For example, pulling the logs from particular connectivity, responding it back, and API is going to make a request. So basically it will be an pull and push method. Okay, after that, what do we have? Alert. Generate an alert for notification. Okay, so here your ticketing system will work. Generally, SOC people, what they work on, what activity they are going to work onto your tickets, which is been generated, which has been notified, or any sort of an issue has been detected. That issue will be notified. Okay, a ticket will be generated, and we are going to identify the false positive. If something is false, it is going to consider as an false positive, false negative, true positive, true negative, what kind of an event that it is. Okay, by doing an analysis, we are going to identify that ticket. Okay, then we have is your correlation. Now correlation is what? Looking for common attribute, the link of an event together. Are they making any meaningful boundaries or not? What technology has been used, from where this event or this logs have been collected. Okay, so in order to turn the data in a useful information, we have a correlation. Okay, from where this event occurred, or from where this log is been collected. It's an firewall log. Okay, now I the SIM understood that it's an firewall log stored under your firewall this logged folder. Okay, this log is often a web application. Store this log under to your web application folder. Okay, then we have is your retention. Now retention is what? Retain the old log or the data after a long period of time. So what we are doing, we are creating a rule out of it. Okay, correlation over the data. Let's say event has been occurred in last year, so let's do an analysis. What type of an event has been occurred? So do we have a log of last year? Okay, if we have a retention policy of 1 year, or let's say often 2 year, yes, absolutely those logs will be stored into our database. So let's fetch those log. If the retention policy is often 6 months, the logs will be deleted. Then we have is your scalability. Now scalability is what? It is going to enable an organization to adopt its deployment method. Okay, facing any unexpected event, or there are multiple logs are being generated, or multiple logs are being collected. So what we are going to do, we are going to scale those logs. Okay, and how these logs are being scaled? With the help of an SIEM architecture. Okay, we can generally give a basic guidance for the scale for the SIEM. Okay, collect only the critical logs, collect only the incident log. Okay, if it is a true event, don't give a pop-up continuously. If it is a false positive event, generate a pop-up out of it. Okay, or create an alert, show me in your dashboard. That is what your scalability is. Okay, so these are your few capabilities that SIEM can do. Now there are different types of a SIEM solution in the market. Okay, and along with that we have different environment as well for SIEM solution. Okay, so here are your few example about your SIEM solution. We have in-house SIEM, then we have cloud-based SIEM, then we have managed SIEM. Okay, as I said, different type of a SIEM solution. Yesterday many of you have been asking about the name of the SIEM solution, what SIEM solutions are available. Okay, so we have Splunk Enterprise Security, which is also known as ES. We have IBM QRadar, Elastic Stack, Logarithm SIEM. We have SolarWind Log and Event Manager, and multiple more. Okay, so these are few of your SIEM solution which are available. So depending on to the organization, which one they want to adopt. Okay, and this comes with a good cost. All the SIEM solution. If you want to deploy a SIEM, definitely organization will be having a good budget. because these tools are not that much, I can say, cost friendly. Okay. Now, in SIEM, we have different models. So let's discuss this model, in-house SIEM. Now, in-house SIEM is what? Okay. So I want to deploy a SIEM solution in my premises. So for that, I will be buying the software. I will be buying the hardware as well. Okay. And that will be managed in my internal network. A full team. Along with that full team, I have a software. I have a hardware. Okay. Now this in-house SIEM comes with an advantage and disadvantage as well. What are the advantage? It is going to provide us or provide me an full control over the system. Okay. Not only that, I can easily customize as per my organization security need this in-house SIEM solution. Okay. So as I said, it comes with an advantage and it comes with a disadvantage as well. Now, what are the disadvantages? It is very much expensive to set up this and to operate this. It's very much expensive. Okay. Then we have is a cloud-based SIEM. Now, in this, what I will be doing, I will be subscribing to an SIEM service which is available over the cloud. Okay. And my team is going to manage that SIEM service. So I have an in-house team, but I don't have a hardware. I don't have a software that has been purchased on a subscription based over in cloud. Now this comes with an advantage and disadvantage as well. What are the advantage? The advantage will be the SIEM platform is continuously updated and upgraded by the cloud environment. Let's say I had adopted from an AWS or I had adopted from an Azure. Okay, let's take an example of an Azure Sentinel. Okay, so I had taken a Azure Sentinel. Now Azure is updating this platform continuously. Okay, we are not depending on third party to maintain, to implement all those things. Azure is taking care of that. Okay, but with this there is a disadvantage as well. Okay, what are the disadvantage? Customer may fail to realize their complete SIEM functions or its benefit. Okay, to learn about that environment, it is going to take a time for me to understand about the tools, because the tools are keeping updated on a monthly basis, on a 15 days or a 20 days. Okay, so I will be required a extra resource who will be putting up his effort or his or her effort whenever there is a new update has been released. So understand about that update, understand about the SIEM function which has been hosted over the cloud. Okay, what are the benefits we are getting out of it? Okay, then at the last we have is your managed SIEM. Now this managed SIEM is what? This can be implemented either on premises or onto an cloud. Okay, which is going to include your all the technology, all the features which organization want. Okay, or yourself also you can implement. Okay, now along with this as well, there are advantage and disadvantage. Okay, what are the advantage? I am not going to take care of hiring process. Directly contacting to the third party, they will be hiring the uh, employees who will be working on this tool. Okay, all the records, all the this information will be stored by them. Okay, just giving an requirement to them. So I want some skilled people who can work on this technology. That's it. Go ahead and hire all these people. Okay, not only that, they will be supporting us as well, giving us an extra data security assistance too. That is an advantage, but it comes with a disadvantage as well. That data security is being managed by the third party, not by my company. Okay, let's suppose we have hired some employees which has been which are on the payroll of a third party. Okay, now we have signed an NDA that they are not going to share any information. What if they share the information? There might be a high chance. Internal threat. If you have heard about internal threat, are who are the internal threat? And for an organization, employees are the internal threat for an organization. If something goes wrong, there might be a chance for an internal threat, high risk possibility, unwanted hassles. Okay, so this managed SIM also comes with an disadvantages. Okay, so here are few of the SIM solution which you can work on, or which you can put your hands on, or which organization can adopt as per their budget. Now what the SIM solution can do, they can detect, they can analyze, and they can manage all the SIM solution. Okay, we have ArcSight, Splunk, IBM QRadar, Logarithm, SolarWind. Okay, so what are these? These are your SIM solutions. Okay, which is going to monitor all the activity in a continuous mode. So what we are going to do, we are going to do a modification in that as well. What need to be displayed onto one screen and what to be displayed onto your second screen. Okay, so SOC people will be having a two screen in front of them. A dashboard will be displayed onto the second screen, alert which has been generated, and work on that activity on that alert. Okay, a live activity, or you can say the live environment will be displayed onto your first screen. It's depending how you want to customize those further, what activity you want to see, what information you want to collect. That is again a part of your scope. Okay, now these are some types of SIM solution. Now next thing is how we can deploy. But before to a deployment, what challenges are being faced by the organization? If we are deploying a SIM, what challenges we will be facing, or what challenges can be faced in SIM deployment. Okay, so let's say SIM deployment can be unsuccessful if there is not having any clear understanding of scope, use case, and its associate requirement. Okay, so we had defined the scope at the first place, and let's say that information has been forwarded to a manager, a SIM manager, a SOC manager, and he didn't understood about the scope. He didn't understood about the requirement. Clearly understood about the requirement. Not clearly understood about the use cases. There will be a challenge in SIM implementation. Okay, unavailability of a trained person. No trained employee, skillful employee working on that SIM solution, that may face a challenge. Absolutely yes, it will be a challenging situation for an organization. Okay, selecting of non suitable SIM deployment architecture. Okay, so there are different set of an architecture. Out of that, when we are deploying the SIM architecture, not going into an correct periodic order, it is going to face a challenge. Okay, so we need to make sure that all the data source need to be configured in a periodic manner. Okay, in consisting of an first phase of an monitoring, a second phase of an detection. or operation. Okay, first we are going to monitor those things, and then if there is any recommendation, go for it. Okay, so here are some of the challenges which may be faced if you're while implementing your SIEM solution. Okay, now what will be the recommendation to deploy a successful SIEM? Here are your few of the recommendation for having a successful SIEM deployment. First thing is what? Use a proper approach phase for a SIEM deployment. Determine the scope, determine the use case, and build the associate requirement for the same. Understand about the scope. What are your requirement? Onto the basis of that requirement, build a SIEM solution, a architecture out of it. What all logs you want to collect, what all activity you want to monitor. Okay, so depending on to your asset risk availability, depending on to the cost of that asset, create a scope out of it. Okay, implement a suitable deployment architecture which is going to help you to deploy a SIEM successfully. Okay, now these are the recommendation how it need to be installed. Okay, we have taken care of a recommendation. Let's go with a step-by-step approach. Okay, a proper approach of an deployment of a SIEM. Okay, so let's say I want to deploy a SIEM. So for that, what will be a proper approach? What will be a step-by-step approach? So the step-by-step approach, the first step will be use phase appropriate for SIEM deployment. Okay, so organization, what they are going to do, they are going to use a phase deployment model approach. Okay, which can lessen the inherent complexity of a SIEM deploymentation. Okay, so what is an inherent risk for an organization? Look for that. So we have three phases of SIEM deployment approach. First will be your deploying log management component, first and SIEM component, and then use case by case output driven approach. Okay, so first organization, what they are going to do, they are going to deploy the log management, they are going to deploy the collection architecture. Okay, we also call it as a central log management system, CLM, or we also call it as a SIEM log management. Now with this SIEM log management, there are certain advantages as well. It is very much easy to deploy. It is very much easy to have a greater visibility of the users, of the resources, of the activity. Okay, not only that, it is going to help to improve the scalability and the performance of your architecture. Okay, so already we are collecting the data, we are using it to perform your function, we are using it related to your security analysis. Okay, further to that, the data can be used for your fulfilling the non-security requirement as well, for doing an forensic use case as well. Okay, so that's why we deploy log management component and then SIEM component. Okay, after that, what we have to do, use case by case. Okay, so this is your sequence again, implementing or taking a help to reach to your desired scope, to reach to your organization objective. Okay, so for example, a case by case approach means looking out for an more complex or looking for a greater scope. Okay, which is going to help you for a log management, which is going to help you for a SIEM component as well, how the SIEM component will be deployed. So for that, we will be taking help of a case study or use case, how it has been deployed. Okay, take the help of an use case and then go with that proper approach, go with the deployment approach. Okay, so this is just an overview to give you to understand about an deployment of an SIEM, but we are going to talk a bit more about this. Before to that, what I said, what is our first phase? First phase is of an scoping system. Okay, once we have a scope, after that we are going to proceed with an deployment model. Now, how that scope is been determined? How we are going to consider the scope? The scope is been derived behind the implementation of an SIEM. So organization, what they are going to do? They are going to have an check onto the security. They are going to check for an operation and for an audit compliance. These are the major drivers for SIEM implementation. Okay, so for example, let's talk about an audit compliance. Now, what are the audit compliance? Okay, whether all the rules, all the policies are being followed as per your standard or not. So we have different standards available. Security standard 27001, for that it's a requirement standard. Okay, then we have PCI DSS standard. Okay, so company will be having an PCI DSS standard. The organization need to collect all those log, all those event related to your credit card access, all the customer data. That is again to your PCI DSS standard. IT security audit checklist, whether this organization has been following all the rules, all the policies as per your standard. Okay, how this necessary logs are been recorded, how it is been stored, based on to the analysis also it is been considered. Okay, so that will be your audit compliance. Then we have is your security. Okay, so when we are deriving the security means real time monitoring, analyzing the log done onto your identification, done onto your suspicious activities, security event or IOCs, indicator of compromise. Okay, so what do we have? We have three pillars of an security: CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, how this confidentiality has been maintained, integrity has been maintained, and availability has been maintained with the help of an encryption over here. Okay, so we do an encryption, encrypt the data into an unreadable format. Then we have an integrity using of an hash. Okay, and then availability. How the availability is maintained? By load balancer or by backups. Okay, so with this we are going to maintain the availability. So these are what? These are your security principle. So we are behind to this security principle. Okay, so with the help of, if we are maintaining this security principle, that means we are storing or we are keeping our data secured by maintaining this CIA. Okay, now security also includes your physical security as well. Okay, so this is not related to your digital security, it includes your physical security as well. Okay, so there is a difference between cybersecurity and information security. Cybersecurity is what? Securing your cyberspace. Okay, your digital data. Information security is what? Securing your physical premises as well. Okay, so I have a data which has been stored inside my laptop. Now that data will be considered as an cyberspace, and that laptop will be considered as a physical device coming under to your which has been used in that local premises, which comes under to your information security. Okay, so this security is going to consider this information security as well. Okay, now what we have to do when we are deriving a scope of an SIEM? We want to monitor all the activities. Okay, whether we have a physical device or whether we have a digital deployment, I want to monitor all the activities. A real time monitoring, a real time analysis of the logs. Okay, so we can easily identify with an suspicious, we can easily identify the suspicious activity or the security event or the IOCs as well. Operation is what? When we are deriving this operation, we will be focusing onto your device management, like your hardware, like your software, how to maintain that hardware, how to maintain that software. Okay, what is the troubleshooting process, all those things. Okay, so this all or these three major factors need to be considered when we are deriving a scope for an SIEM implementation. Okay, what type of an
In this
policies is
definitive
being
form,
used? What type of an procedures is being used? What standard is being followed? Okay, so create a list out of it. Then look for the security events as well, or the security factors as well. Okay, analyze those logs to identify the suspicious pattern, and then look for your hardware or software, you can say the maintenance factor too, device management we call it. Okay, how this device is been managed, how this device or this software or this hardware is been used, and where it is been collected, what information has been stored, who has been using this information, who can access this application, from which network this application will be this will be accessed. I want that information so we can collect the logs out of those applications. Okay, out of those software, out of those hardware. Okay, once we have complete understanding about this architecture, about this three things, then we can derive the scope as per the requirement, as per the criticality of the organization asset or organization system. Now for example, if I write my name over here, okay, so as of now it's into a plain text format which is easily readable. Okay, now let's convert this plain text into an number or into a different digital format. Now this is your MD5 hash, this is your SHA-1 hash. These are what? These are my algorithms. Okay, now if I make a change in this data, the hash is going to be changed. For encryption we have decryption, for encoding we have decoding, for an hash we don't have any dehashing kind of an technology. For hash we use keys. Keys are always private. So if you search it over a Google, what are the keys for MD5 hash, you won't be getting any information out of it. Okay, now what I've written over here, my name A is into an uppercase. Now what if I change my uppercase to an lowercase? After this the hash will also be is going to be changed. It's an one-way street. Can you see? If the data has been changed, your hash is also been changed. Okay, the reason behind why we moved over to an integrity, in confidentiality we are using what? We are using encryption. Encryption is what? Converting the data into an unreadable format. For example, this is my data Abhishek. Okay, now we are converting this Abhishek into an unreadable format, something like this. Okay, now this word is not making any sense. the hacker is also sitting onto the same network. Okay, now he is looking for the message, but he is not able to read this message, but he can change the message. He can do a modification to this message. Okay, if I'm sending an email to you and that email has been converted into an unreadable format, so hacker, what he can do, he can change that mail, change the data from that mail. Okay, he will try to send a link, a phishing link. Okay, and you will be thinking that Abhishek has sent me a link. So what we have introduced, we have introduced an integrity for it. No modification to be done. It is going to check for the modification. It is going to check for the this, if any thing has been changed or not. So for that, what we have introduced, we have introduced a hash, a one-way street. If hash has been changed, that means data has been modified. Okay, if I change my data from an uppercase to an lowercase, the hash is also been changed over here. Okay, so that's why we started using an integrity. Okay, only sender and receiver will be having those keys. During three-way handshake, the keys will be exchanged. We have this symmetric and asymmetric encryptions available, Diffie-Hellman encryptions available. With the help of that encryption, we started converting this message into a plain text format. Okay, so only sender and receiver. Along with this, if you visit to any website, what we look for, this lock sign. What are this lock sign? These are your digital certificate. Okay, why this digital certificate is been provided? What does this means? What does this lock sign mean? That means your website is secured. Okay, and if I click on to this certificate, okay, give me more information, view certificate. Okay, so the certificate provider is your Amazon, validation date. Along with that, if I scroll a bit down, it will give me the information of your public key as well. Okay, which public key has been used? RSA public key has been used. Now I don't have any information of a private key. At the back end, it is also using the private key. Symmetric algorithm, symmetric encryption. For that, understand about the symmetric and asymmetric encryption, how this encryption has been working. Now it's depend what
Hash.
type of an algorithm you have been using. Okay, it's depend on to that as well. It depend on to your private key as well. What private key you are using to generate that hash. Now if we both are using the same private key, it will generate the same. Now after that, it will add the it after the public key, it will add the private key as well. Now we don't know which private key we have been using. Okay, understand this thing. You have been talking about the hash. Let's say a message, hello, this is my message. After that, we have done a encryption of this hello. After that, what we have done, we have added an hash for this hello. A hash has been generated of this hello. Okay, and then what private key or what public key you have been using, the whole message will be encrypted with the receiver's public key. After that, this whole packet will be encrypted with the sender's private key, and that will be forwarded. Now receiver, what he is going to do, he is going to encrypt the outer message, outer box, with his own public key. After that, he is going to encrypt that private key with the help of the public key, which has been shared during a three-way handshake. As of now, he don't know what type of a message has been sent. It has been fully encrypted now. Okay, once he have the unreadable format of that message, the encrypted format, he is going that encryption of that hello is EHHUL. He is going to decrypt it and then he is going to calculate that hash for hello. He is not going to generate, he is not going to cross verify it. He is going to calculate the hash for the hello. Once the hash is been calculated, and that will be matched and that will be verified. This is how your symmetric encryption has been working. Okay. Now this symmetric
I got it.
encryption was a bit difficult challenge for us because it is taking a lot of time. So what we have done, we have introduced, there was a guy by the name of Diffie Hellman. He had introduced a new thing. So Diffie Hellman, what he said, only the key exchange is the problem. Okay, because when we are exchanging the key, hackers are simply capturing those keys. So let's secure this key exchange, and after that use the same process of a symmetric algorithm. So we started using Diffie algorithm, elliptic curve, then SHA-256, 512, all this type of an encryptions, and securing the key exchange. That is the main thing, because we want to secure the key exchange. After that, it is very much easy to do an encryption. But for that also, public and private key has been required. Only the sender and receiver will be having it. Key encryption and decryption is separate, hashing is separate. Cryptography, cryptography itself a very big topic. Okay, and a very interesting as well. And this topic is been included into your all the certification, whether you are going with an base level certification or you are going for an any management certification. Cryptography is there in all the certification. Everywhere it has been used, because it's the base thing. If you want to add or if you want to implement a security inside your organization, you need to make sure what type of an algorithm has been used. If we are building a website as well, for that website, information which has been captured, information which has been stored in the database, again data has been traveling. Now what type of an this cryptography we have been using? For there are multiple vulnerabilities as well. Cryptographic failure, by default we have an vulnerability available for a web application by the name of an cryptographic failure. Okay, so use an encryption. Nowadays to we are going with a secure coding as well. Okay, if you are creating a coding, doing a code as well for an foreign website, foreign database, again that need to be secure too. Okay, so the technologies have been updating. We started using the signatures. SIEM has been using the signature to detect the log. Okay, for example, if you are trying to download an exe file, now that device or your uh, firewall not going to understand that exe. For that, what do we have? We have file signatures. Okay, now this thing we are going to talk about into our next class. Okay, how the SIEM actually work, what are the capabilities of a SIEM solution. Okay, all those things. Over there also there's terminologies of your cryptography will be cleared a bit more. You will be able to understand how it has been read, how the network, how over a network the data has been traveling, and how that firewall or this IPS or IDS understand that what type of an data has been sent and received. So that is again a very interesting topic which I'm going to show you tomorrow. Now along with that, we have few more things to cover on. Okay, so first one was the scope, how to define a scope, and after that what do we have? The stages to go with an deployment or for an implementation of an SIEM. The first stage has been talking about a scope. How to define a scope? Look for the audit compliance, look for the security posture of an organization, look for the operations as well. Onto the basis of that, define a scope. After that, what do we have? Monitoring requirement. Okay, monitor your IT infrastructure. want to monitor my whole organization. I want to monitor my whole network because that need to be protected. That are your requirement. Requirements are your IT infrastructure. Monitor all the networking. If there is any event occurred, look for the source. I want a requirement to implement a use case over here. Event is been occurred from what source? That source is your firewall. That source is your web application. That source is an application. Look for the source and then validate that source. Okay, that need to be validated against to your monitoring requirement. When it has been received on 8th of November, by what time? By 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so we can analyze it very much easily. The event is been occurred by 8:10 a.m. in the morning on XYZ date. The source is your web application, and how we collected that information by monitoring. So further to that, what we can do, we can use the case logic. Okay, we can go with an condition. We can create a rule. Okay, if there is any alert or if any alert has been detected, a rule is been created for it. Any third party or anyone outside from a network is trying to connect with our internal network, create a alert, generate a alert out of it. So what we have done, implemented a rule. Okay, over here what we have done, we have done a validation of time, date, okay, location. Okay, after that what we are going to do, we are going to go with an implementation and testing. Configure and test your SIEM implementation, your specific use case, your desired output, such as your can say the reporting or your notification, real-time notification. Okay, or any old notification or historic notification. Okay, and then action, act on that incident. What action you are going to perform, how you are going to start with an incident handling, how your forensic team is going to respond. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to go with a step by step approach. Okay, so first what we are going to do, we are going to do an isolation of a device. Okay, remove that device from the network, disconnect that device, because we don't want any other device to be hampered. So attacker, what he can do, he can do an chain attack. Okay, first attacking one machine, after that from that machine he will be moving into different machine, and from that different machine he will be moving into a third machine. So we want to stop that attack at the first step. So isolate that device, remove that device from the network. Once that device has been removed from the network, so what we are going to do, we are going to go with an eradication. Okay, look for the root cause of the attack, try to identify. Okay, not only that, do an forensic investigation, remove that vulnerability. Okay, once you identify the root cause, once you identify the vulnerability, what we have to do, go for the mitigation. Patch those vulnerability, patch those application, patch those requirement, and then go for the recovery. Recover those device, bring that device back online. Okay, so how we are following, we are following a step by step approach. What step need to be followed, again that need to be predefined. Okay, while doing an implementation, we are going to define all this thing. What are your response process? Response process for to handle incident, response process to go with forensic investigation, response process to go with an recovery phase. Okay, so this is your use case deployment. First create a scope, then go with the monitoring requirement. What do you want to monitor? I want to monitor my whole IT infrastructure, whatever your requirements are. If it is for any application or for any database, so XYZ, any of the thing it can be considered. Okay, so along with that, event sources. If any event has been occurred, so it comes under to the source. So this event has been occurred from XYZ source, because the source are very much limited as of now. It's only for an application. So yes, definitely it will be an application. Then we have event validation. If any event has been occurred, again validate those event, by what time, by what date. A timestamp has been given on every event. Okay, on every log. So this log has been collected on XYZ date, time, and from where all the information has been stored inside it. Then use case logic, what rule you have created to capture those events, to capture those incident. So we had created a set of alarm need to be used to detect, to identify any attacking vector. Okay, then we have an implementation process or the testing process. Okay, how the SIEM implementation to be done, what specific use case you have been following. We are following the simple use case, scope, monitoring, event validation, use case logic, and case response. Okay, what are the desired output you want? I want to go with a real-time notification. Also I want to check for the older notification as well, historic notification, all those information I want to implement. And then is your case response, how you are going to respond to this case, what action you are going to go for, what is the step-by-step approach to perform this action. Okay, so these are the few things which need to be considered while deploying a this SIEM model. Okay, now there are other requirement as well, requirement for your log data, requirement for your successfully executing the log data. Okay, typically the source for an log data inside an SIEM will be for network firewall, it will be for IDS. So these are the major things which are predefined, which we will be going for. Okay, for we will be collecting it from a network firewall, we will be collecting it from an IDS or IPS network sandbox as well. Okay, from an web we required web proxy log as well, internal DNS server log, application log, database log, web server, web application log, endpoint security log, like your antivirus if you are hosting any IPS, cloud server application program as well, APIs. If you are using any Unix or Windows server, collect those information as well, authentication server logs like your VPN. Okay, so all those information by default we will be calculating, we will be collecting it. Okay, now log field alone it's not enough for a, you can say, to improve or to go with an best security awareness. Okay, there are other things as well need to be considered, other thing as in your workstation. Okay, so we are not 100% depending onto the logs, so for that we have an compliance regulated. Okay, policies regulated, awareness training is also been given. Okay, so why there are awareness training has been provided to each and every employee, whether that employee is not from a technical background, for that also awareness training has been provided nowadays, to make sure that each and everyone are been aware of an basic ethics of an security. Okay, what need to be visited, if we are visiting any website, what thing need to be considered, if any email has been sent, how we are going to identify whether that email is a fake mail or it's a trusted email. It can be a phishing email as well. Always make sure don't click onto email link directly. First check by what time that email has been sent. If it is sent into an office hours, after that look for the source from where it has been sent, look for the domain, who has been sent that email? Are you expecting any such kind of an email? If there is any useful information, okay, if yes, then cross verify those links as well. We have multiple websites available nowadays from where we can easily cross verify the links, whether it's a malicious link or not. We have virus total available. You can simply check it over there, and further to that you can follow it. Now this is your you can say general approach. If you are into a network, some secure network, if you are inside an organization, okay, or if you are using accessing some of the public network as well, during that time also follow this ethics. Okay, a social awareness has been given. Okay, so 100% we are not depending onto the same, we are depending onto the other specific use case as well. We are depending onto the social awareness as well. We are depending onto the applications as well. What the security we are providing for that application, what additional security controls we have been using, what additional controls we have been implementing, like yes, asset control, vulnerability assessment has been there, threat context has been there, okay, data context, external context, okay, application context, business context, okay, how to be how we are going to visit to our organization. We required some access card policy, password policies. After 30 days, after 45 days, password to be reset, password need to be yes, changed. So that comes under to your password policy. What policy we have been implementing, how it has been implemented, location based as well. So this again, these few things need to be considered. Now, as an SOC analyst, okay, what we are going to do, we are going to manage, or we are going to look for SIEM management console. Okay, now in this SIEM management console, what we are collecting, we are collecting the logs. Logs are been collected, logs from your firewall or log feeds or all the other things. Okay, along with that we have SIEM flow collector. Okay, your flow data, network or your net flow collector. It is also collecting your internet protocol, IP traffic in the form of a network, routers, net flow. It's again a net flow feature, collecting the records of your router UDP, ST, CTP packets. Okay, which is going to make it very much easy to analyze and identify the anomalous network parameters. Okay, or the network bandwidth consumption as well. How much what are the consumption of a network bandwidth, if there is any DOS attack or DDoS attack has been done. So with this SIEM management console we can identify, we can fix those problem too. Okay, now this comes with an hardware requirement as well to deployment as for the SIEM deployment. So yes, good hardware has been required, a good software, a good network bandwidth is also been required. There are multiple other factors as well. Okay, because to go with to use this the SIEM environment, to use the application, a good RAM memory has been required, a good storage device is also been required, and along with that, as I said, 2 monitors have been required. So again, investment into an hardware, it's a must for an organization, need to be considered if they are going for in-house deployment of an SIEM.